Yeah, hi. Nice to be here today with you. My name is Fred Lowery. I am the Senior Vice President at Thermo Fisher Scientific and President of our Life Sciences business and lab products. So Thermo Fisher Scientific is a broad-based life science company. We are the world leader in serving science. We are not going. You're not going to see us on commercials every single day, but we are at the forefront of enabling our customers in the world of science. So anyone, the way I think about it is anybody that has a laboratory probably buys something from Thermo Fisher Scientific. If you're doing any type of science, and you could be a pharmaceutical company, you could be a biotech, you could be a food company, because you have a food company, you have to do quality testing of your food. So you have food, you have laboratories. If you're doing any type of research, whether it's academic research or whether you're in a government agency doing research, or even if you're in an industrial company that has a laboratory that does research, you're probably buying products from Thermo Fisher. And we're doing everything from developing testing tools for measuring radiation, and you would see our products used at the Super Bowl to protect the fans there, to our products being used across the board in the fight against COVID. We have a diagnostic test, or really the gold standard for diagnostic testing in the fight against COVID, as well as we're supplying, working with all of the companies working on vaccines for the COVID virus by supplying them with products that are used in the production of vaccines and products that are used as ingredients for those vaccines. So we are truly the world leader in serving science, and our mission is to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. And every single day is super exciting to come to work and know that we are actually doing things that if we don't do it, that it just may not get done. And that we're providing services and products that improve the societal need, improve the societal condition, and meets the needs of humanity. So it's a very exciting place for me, an exciting place to work. Yeah, so my career pathway to my current role as a senior vice president at Thermo Fisher, it really started out with a background in engineering. When I graduated from Tennessee Tech as a mechanical engineer, and I took a really small job right out of school, but then quickly moved over to General Motors. And I worked at GM in operations, and then I moved over to product engineering and ultimately design engineering at General Motors before leaving there, going to Maytag, the appliance manufacturer, where I worked in corporate procurement, worked with our suppliers. Then I moved over to business development, which is really where I found one of my passions around helping businesses grow and doing deals. And then I left, went back to a more of a marketing role. And from there, one of my colleagues at Maytag went to Fisher Scientific, which was in the life science space. And I love technology and love businesses that were growing. And he asked me to come over to Fisher Scientific, and I did. And there at Fisher Scientific, I moved into more general management type roles, which is something that I always wanted to do and was part of the reason for that move. About a year later, Fisher Scientific was purchased by Thermo Electron. And here, some 15 years later, after many, many different general management type roles, moving from a vice president, general manager to president of a division and then senior vice president, I find myself here at Thermo Fisher, which is an amazing company, really the industry leader in life sciences, with a whole lot of runway going forward. So it's been a great journey, and with great companies and great people. And one of the things you should think about in your journey is how you network. And people say it's who you know, but I would tell you it's actually who knows you, and more importantly, what they think about you. And those are the people that can help move your career forward. I would encourage everyone to work to find multiple mentors, not just one, but I think you need a mentor in the company you work for that's above you. You need a mentor outside of that company as well. And then you also need a couple of mentors who are your peers, one inside the company for sure, and one outside the company what you're really trying to do is get a 360 view of yourself. And I would encourage you to make sure your mentors are not your friends, that they're people that are willing to give you honest feedback in a non-biased way about how you show up and the things that and other things that you might need to work on. I had the fortune of having just amazing mentors across my throughout my career. I'll tell you, one of the first mentors I had is a guy named James Ray, who's still a mentor of mine today. But I remember when I first joined General Motors, someone told me that there was another Omega working at the company, and unfortunately, this is going to tell my age. So they told me his name, and I went to the phone book, the company phone book. If you can imagine, there was a paper phone book for the company, and I just called him up and I said, "Hey, James, I'm Fred Lowery. I heard you were a bruh. I just got to town, and let's get together for lunch." And he got together with me, and lo and behold, he was an executive at the company. I had no idea. I just happened to call him, and James really took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes and said, "Hey, don't do that, do this, think about this." And it just gave me a huge head start on my career. And in every stop of my career, there's been someone that's been a mentor of mine that's been able to do that. And as I progressed my career, I started asking people to be my mentor. And my current mentor, who's been my mentor for 10 years and still works here at Thermo Fisher, we're colleagues now, we're peers. But, he was the guy that was getting promoted the most when I first joined the company. I saw him get promoted a couple, 2 or 3 times over a couple year period. I said, that guy knows something that maybe I need to know. And I made myself available to him and asked him to help me find a mentor. I didn't ask him to be my mentor. I said, "Hey, Syed, can you help me find a mentor?" And gave him an opportunity to get to know me a little bit. And ultimately, he became a great mentor of mine for, like I said, over a 10-year period. So mentorship is incredibly important. And what I would tell you is having a good mentor will help lead to having a good sponsor. And the sponsorship is even more important than mentorship. And sponsors may not, you may not even know that somebody's your sponsor, but somebody's going to choose you to sponsor you. And they're going to be the person in the background saying, "Hey, this person we ought to be thinking about this person for this job." They're going to be the person that sends somebody your way and sends opportunities your way and keeps your career moving in the right direction. But in order to be attractive to a sponsor, you've got to be delivering great results. And you've got to show up in a way that people will trust you. You've got to have a brand of trust, a brand of delivering for your customers, a brand of being very reliable. And then somebody will look at you and say, "I want to be associated with that person." Again, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, and more importantly, what they think about you. And if you reflect yourself in a positive way all the time, not just the 8 hours or 10 hours you're at work, but all the time, you're always on stage, even doing your social media, you're on stage, and reflect yourself positively, somebody will pick you out and say, "I want to help this person." Not just because they deserve it, but hey, it helps me when I help you. And so it's important to show up well all the time. And I think your mentors and your sponsors will surface and will help you move your career forward. So the skills and qualities that we're looking for in early roles at Thermo Fisher, so people that are coming out of college or recent graduates. Let me first say it's a life science company, but we don't just need scientists. We've got some of the best science minds, and we're looking for people with those kind of backgrounds. But we're also looking for great business people. We also look for people with great IT type skills as well. But as far as some of the soft skills, people that will be successful at Thermo Fisher are folks who are willing to collaborate, people who want to make a difference in society, but people who are aggressive, who are really aggressive, and they really want to do things that haven't been done yet. We're a company that's grown from, $3 billion 15 years ago to over 25 billion last year, and we're going to continue to grow in the future. And we need people that are dynamic and that can come in and be very entrepreneurial and aggressive and work with others for the benefit of humanity. That's the type of folks that we're looking for, and it really can be cross-discipline because we've got a place for just about everybody to fit within a company of 80,000 colleagues. Part of the thing that you can do as someone moving into the workforce is to be flexible. Make sure you're flexible and that you're not stuck in one paradigm, and you're able to move on to the next thing quickly. And then secondly, you have to be the best you can be. Somebody told me once, one of my mentors told me, he said, hey, they already know you're a black man, so they expect you to be a black man. And I heard Carla Harris, who's a very distinguished executive, say, no one can be a better you than you can. So you are uniquely qualified to be the very best person that you can be. And that means, obviously doing the work. I would encourage you to do something you love and love the work. But it also gives you an advantage when things are changing quickly, that you're not trying to be somebody else. Just be your very authentic self and share your very unique perspective, because that might be the perspective that moves things forward, because nobody else in the room is going to have the same perspective that you do. So bring that with you every single day and have a lot of confidence around being your very best self and giving that out or sharing that with the team or with the folks that you're working with. And I guarantee you'll make a difference and you'll stand out because of it. As I think about diversity broadly, diverse teams are better than non-diverse teams. And that's not my opinion. That's a fact. You can read the McKinsey study, Diversity Matters, and it proves it. So every corporation needs diversity. As I think about the life science industry, where it's really important that we have talented, creative minds coming up with things that actually don't exist today, you need perspective in order to create, and you need different perspectives to create things. And oftentimes I think about all of the things that would not have happened if I wasn't in the room. And the reality is all of us are very unique. We all have a unique perspective. We come from we hit things from a unique point of view. And in the life sciences space, we need more people with a point of view, people who are of color. Let me just say, we need Black people who come from that culture and point of view that are sitting in the room. And as we've seen in COVID, there are health disparities for many, many different reasons, but it starts with research. It starts with the science. And we need people with that point of view, or with a different point of view, that are involved in everything from the research to production. And if we're only designing treatments and drugs for white males, we're going to continue to have that level of health disparity when it comes to different diseases. So it's incredibly important that we have talented Black folks and Black colleagues coming into the life science space. So I look forward to seeing more people in the room that look like me, not just for my edification, but really for the societal good, in order for us to bring treatments and impact to society at a greater scale and faster. I tell people that anybody I meet in their 20s in Boston is having the time of their life. It is incredible to me. I mean, I wish I could, go back 20 years ago and live in Boston. But for me, I love Boston. I've been able to find a great community here. I live right in the city, so it's a kind of a cool city to live in. It's a small city, but we've got 4 sports teams, so it's small city, but it kind of punches above its weight. It's got all the stuff I love. I mean, I love live music. I can get live music every night, walking distance from my house. I love the theater. It's got great theater. So sometimes at some point post-COVID, we'll all go back to the theaters, I hope. and it's got some great food. I mean, a lot of great restaurants, and I absolutely love to eat. So it's pretty good living for me to be able to live downtown. And I generally don't drive very much. I just kind of walk or Uber wherever I'm going. And, it's got a very young vibe to it. The city proper, I mean, not the city proper, but the general area, the metro area has gotten, we have over, I think, 29 universities, almost 30 universities. So there's a very young feel in the city, and plenty to do. And frankly, it's a growing place. So I've been very happy with Boston. The only thing I would, as just in closing, we live in a world where people don't say this enough, but if you want to get ahead, you should help people. Whoever helps the most people wins. And that is absolutely true in corporate America. The more helpful you are, the more valuable you'll become to your customers, the more valuable you'll become to your colleagues, the more you will stand out and look like a leader if you're helping the most people. So I come to work every day looking for ways to gain more assists. Like, I'm a point guard. I want to have the very most assists, and make sure that I am responsible for points getting put on the board, but it doesn't have to be me specifically putting those points on the board. So come to work every day and make sure that you're helping others, and that others are better because you're there. If you do that, you're going to have an amazing career.
Hi, my name is Dr. Uzo Erlingsson. I'm an MD scientist, and currently a managing partner at Hagren Holdings, which is a private equity venture firm. And also starting in August of 2020, I was asked to come on a new biotech company as their CEO, which is called Precision Health Technologies. And that's like an exciting thing that I just started working on in the past few months. And then I'm a mom, which is actually the most fun job for me. Hagren Holdings started because after I had my first kid, who is my daughter, I'm originally from Nigeria, and I was looking for natural products to use on my daughter. And being a scientist and, a biochemistry geek, all of the products out there, reading all of it and the ingredients in it really scared me. I was like, wait, this is what people are putting on their kids' bodies? I just want shea butter or cocoa butter or just like plain old coconut oil that doesn't have all these other things that I can barely pronounce, even though I love biochemistry. And that led me down a path of looking for natural products to use for my daughter. And in doing that, I realized that there was no Sephora for natural products. And that led me to start Hagren Holdings, to invest in a company that was going to curate those natural products. And one of my first investments was in Folane, which is, basically a Sephora for everything sold in Folane has been vetted by us. And we know that it's, pure, it has no weird ingredients and things that are unnecessary, just, to make the shelf life go longer. And that's basically how I went down that path. So I saw what I thought was a problem and I tried to solve it. I have a very interesting, pathway that I took. I was originally born in Nigeria. My family migrated in the 90s when Nigeria was not economically stable to United Arab Emirates, colloquially known as Dubai. And we lived in Dubai. And from there, I'm one of 7 kids. And I really, really wanted to go to the UK because that's where every Nigerian who can, get out of the country to go to school goes to school. And I remember my father sitting me down and saying, there's 7 of you. This is how much I can afford for you to go to school without a loan. and this is how much you're going to have as student loans to pay back if you want to go to only where you want to go. And of course, everyone's dreams is like, oh, I want to go to Oxford, or I want to go to University of Cambridge, or I want to go to Harvard or MIT. But he was very straightforward with me with the math and the finances of it all. And I ended up going to medical school in the Czech Republic because that's what my family could afford. And I didn't want to have debt when I was done with my education. But what that just means is that I just had to work extra. If whatever country that I wanted to go to, I had to ultimately take their tests and figure out the system and, be a little bit behind. But I think in the long run, it all worked out. In first year of medical school, we had to dissect a cadaver. And that was part of anatomy. And I used to throw up at every single class. But I loved the science. I loved the nitty gritty. I loved the chemistry formulas. I loved all of that stuff. And I was like, but I have to pass anatomy if I want to be a doctor. And then I finished with anatomy. And then the next year we had anatomy and histology in the first year. I enjoyed histology. And then the second year we had biochemistry, genetics, and pathophysiology. And I enjoyed genetics. I enjoyed biochemistry. I was like, okay, I just have to power through the parts of medicine that I didn't like and focus on the stuff that I loved. I loved biochemistry. I loved genetics. I loved the chemistry of life. I loved the building blocks of life. I loved the molecular level of things in life. So I powered through, finished medical school, fainted through a lot of my surgery internships and, rotation that I had to because I do not like the smell and sight of blood. But I finished. And once I was done, I knew that I wanted to study what we call inborn metabolic pathways, which we all have. It's just basically the biochemistry of how our body functions. Because when you eat, your body has to break everything down, and there's specific pathways for everything to be broken down. So that's what I focused on. And it may look like me wanting to invest in skincare or, body lotion products seems like off the path. But when I read the ingredients, I'm looking at them going like, I don't know what the biochemical pathway for this thing is. So basically, this is just going to accumulate in my body or my kid's body and cause cancer or cause chronic inflammation that leads to other diseases. So even though they look like they're so disparate, it's kind of connected with the parts of medicine that I do love and that I was working in. And before I started Hager Holdings, I worked in biochemical genetics, which is basically studying the genetic pathways of every processes that goes on in the human body. So in a way, they're both connected, just in different words. It's just that biochemical genetics is in the medical word, and then skincare and body care and lotions and all of that seem to be in mostly the consumer space, but ultimately everything in life is about biochemistry. So I had my medical education in Europe, in Czech Republic, in Central Europe to be specific, and ultimately met my husband there in medical school. He's half American. And we got married and we decided that we would move back to the States. So once that was a decision that we were moving to, I had never been to the States, so I didn't even know what I was coming to. So once that had been a decision that this is what we wanted to do, I started looking for jobs in the in the space that I wanted to work in, which is in biochemical genetics, anything with inborn errors of metabolism. And I, in my internet search, met a guy called Dr. Nicola Longa. And he was in Utah, and my husband's mother's family is from Utah. And he was at University of Utah, had the profile of everything that I wanted to work on, which I was super excited about, and I reached out to him. It was a cold call. I was just like, hi, I'm interested in this. Do you think that you have any space for me? And he was so, I've never had anyone excited for me in my life, except for when I told people I was pregnant. He was so excited that I reached out to him. And this is why I say to my students, if there's something you're super interested in, if there's something you really like, reach out to somebody, because everybody is happy to know that someone else likes something that they like. So he was so happy that here I was in the middle of, Europe, in Czech Republic, and I was interested in fatty acid oxidation diseases. And even though he was like 40 years older than me, he said, this is what I think we should do. Let's apply for an NIH grant. Let's see if you get it. And this is, how I see this working. And you can go ahead and write up an experimental plan of what you're thinking, where you see this be a fit. And this is what my lab does, and where do you think you can fit in? So I worked on that. We wrote an NIH grant and we got it for 3 years. And I moved to Utah, worked with him for the first 3 years on the NIH grant, and then 2 more years where he hired me to help finish out the work that we were working on together. After 5 years at that point, we had 2 kids, and my husband and I, we looked at each other and decided we wanted a more diverse place for the kids to grow up. And that's how we came to Boston. This is what is fascinating about Boston, or Massachusetts in general. The average person from Massachusetts is not fake. Now, that can be construed as being mean, or not being friendly, or not, being interested. That's usually because the average person from Massachusetts is not fake. But once you find your community, once you find your group, you quickly find that they are genuinely interested in you. And once anyone says hi, it's a genuine hi. It's not a fake hi. So it feels kind of hard in the beginning, because it's like, why are they so mean? What's going on? Why is no one smiling? Why is no one being polite? It's just like, I don't know, maybe it's the weather, but no one has time to be fake or to just be polite for the sake of being polite. But once you find your group, and that's what happened for us, like we found our community, people who are like-minded, who do things that we enjoy, and it's been, it was fast love once that happened, and I can't imagine living anywhere else in the US. I've had mentors all my life. When I was really young, my mom, I wrote a paper where I said in my paper that my mom was my role model. And she sat me down and said, I don't want to be your role model. At first I was crushed. I was like, that is such a mean thing to say. And she said, no. She said, think of everything that you want to be and find that person and let that person be your role model. Like, I will always be there in your life. I will always guide you. And that's something that has always guided me. So when I was in medical school, when I quickly realized that surgery, blood, and cutting people up was not my thing, I adopted my genetics teacher. I remember showing up at his office and I said, I love genetics because it is where the molecular and the biochemistry part and the pharmacological part, like, all come together, all things that I do love. And he looked at me and was just like, do you know how to pipette? I was like, I don't know what that is. What is that? Like, I know how to use, one of those things in chemistry lab we did in high school. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Do you even know how to do this? I said, no. And then one of the things about mentorship is that you always have to know what it is that you like. You always have to be sincere. And it sounds scary, but the average person who's come a long way wants to pay it forward. And as long as you have articulated what it is that you're looking for, they can sense that. Because Professor Chevinka looked at me and said, I can see you really want this, but you're going to have to start from the very bottom. I said, I don't mind, because I want to learn and I want to know if I really like this. And this was my second year out of my 6th year of medical school. And I was with him for the rest of the 4 years, worked on different projects and collaborated with different departments. But ultimately, I always went back to him because he was a person that believed in me when I didn't know anything. And same with Dr. Longo at the University of Utah. I'm still in touch with him. I call him up every now and then and be like, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? And I always seek out his advice, because when I cold called him from Czech Republic, he did not know who I was. He was in Utah. He's originally from Italy. We had nothing in common on paper, except for the fact that I was really interested in fatty acid oxidation diseases, which is also something that he does. And he was like, this is amazing. Someone young who loves something that I work on. And all he wanted to do was teach me and impact all his knowledge and just, dump it all on me. And so I always advise young people, the biggest obstacle to finding a mentor is not articulating what you want to do or what interests you. A lot of time people want to tick boxes, and mentors can see through that. But if you're passionate about something, if something interests you, if you love something, people will see that, and they would be more than happy to bring you into the fold. As a teacher and a mentor, and also as someone who has been a student and mentored, the 3 things that I think are some of the most important and personality, patience, and passion. And I'll try to explain the 3 of them. With personality, my great-grandfather used to say, your great deeds may bring you in front of the king, but it's your attitude that gets you invited to dinner with the king. So you might have great grades and you're valedictorian and you get all the awards in the world. If people don't want to be around you, if you don't have a good attitude, you're not going to go far in life, because your personality and your attitude is a big part of your success in life. Patience is something that I don't know what the next generation call themselves, but most of people in my generation, we call ourselves the microwave generation. You put noodles for 4 minutes into the microwave, it's done. What you don't realize is that 2 generations before me, you had to make the noodles yourself, probably the night before, and then you had it for dinner. And when you really think about it, it took 24 hours to make. But for me, it took me 4 minutes to make. And in the real world, good things take longer than shorter to happen. So you just have to be patient. Even if you're doing something, you're slugging it out and you're like, when is my break gonna come? When am I gonna be the next Mark Zuckerberg? And you just realize it's all about patience. The only reason why Warren Buffett is the best investor in the world is because he puts his money and he forgets it. He's patient and waits for it to ride it out. And then passion. And I know that I feel like I said it a lot in when I speak to students, but it makes life so much easy if you know what you like and what you don't like. It helps you weed out the noise. It helps you not settle for the sake of, doing something. And it helps you stay focused when you know something that you love and you enjoy, that, you're curious about or that intrigues you. So those are the 3 things: personality, patience, and passion. When I graduated from medical school, I told my mentor that my goal is to be published in Nature. It's one of the science magazines. It was one of my goals. And now, do I regret that I've never been published in Nature? No, but I've been published in other papers that I never thought I could get into, like biophysical and biochemistry papers, because I always like revered, and I was like, those people are just another level of brilliant than I am. And also, I have now interacted in a world where life sciences and biotechnology and finance come together. And it's, in my opinion, a much more exciting place to be. And I am very happy with where I am. I don't have any regrets. I feel like every path that I have crossed, all the people that I have met, have led me to where I am right now. And I am very happy and grateful with where I am.